Hey, everybody, Jay Widener here. Second. Reading from the book, A Monument to the End of Time, co-written with the late, great Vincent Bridges. Getting near the end. All right. Today is Chapter 9, The Place of Refuge, Section 2, A Sign Pointing Towards Peru. Okay, so we're looking at the Latin inscription on the cross. I'll give you a picture of that. That's the Latin inscription. The very top of the cross. Let's go back to the inscription. On the cross it reads, I'll show that to you. O crux ave pessonica. The word X in the original O crux ave becomes the symbol for the cross itself. Therefore, it is necessary, if we are to follow the symbolic motif of the pedestal, to circle this central X or cross. That leaves us with 4 words, each with 4 letters surrounding the central X. Just like the pedestal, this X has 4 sides. Each side has a word with 4 letters. There are 4 letters in the inscription on the other side of the cross, I-N-R-I, 4 stars around the sun in the panel, 3 on the pedestal, and 4 groups of 2 bursting ray, each in the great star of panel 1. There are 16 rays, a multiple of 4, bursting out from the sun in panel 3. There are 4 A's in panel 4, and so we are not surprised to find that without the X, there are 4 words within the Latin inscription. Split in this pattern, the inscription looks like this. Right here. Those are the 4 words. No matter how one jumbles the letters, there are no interpretations that make sense of all 4 words in this layout. Although save and Inca jump out at us from the right side. There are no certain answers to the inscription's riddle to be found in this first move. There are other steps involved. From Fulcanelli's clues, we know that the next step involves exchanging K's or a hard C sound for S. The new phrase now possesses 4 C's. This is interesting because the word 4C is mimicked by the clue. Our inscription now looks like this. This is not much better, but we are making progress. The next step is to reciprocate the transformation and turn the X into an S. We do that, we get this. Now we have a simple anagram. Exchange the R and the C on the left side of the S and rearrange the right side with a few simple transpositions. And we have, this is the first of them. Then finally, do the same transposition of the top word on the left side, including the extra S, and the meaning becomes clear. And we get this. Cusco, Inca Cave, Cusco, Peru. Again, Inca Cave, Cusco, Peru. While this is clear and simple in several languages, we still haven't found the importance of the displaced S. Merely changing it to a C in an anagram doesn't tell us why it is important, but there is more. There is another message encrypted within the inscription. This addition is another interpretation of the Latin inscription's place of refuge and uses the displaced S to point to a specific place, the single space. It uses only the top line of the inscription as originally written. This is the top line as originally written. The only major shift in the letters is done by taking the S off of the end of the phrase and placing it at the beginning. It now reads, and now we have three words read outward from the central cross. The first word is Ave, the second word is the X or cross, the third word must be read backwards. So instead of S-O-C-R-U, the word now reads as Urkos, U-R-C-O-S. The line now looks like this. Hail to the cross at Urkos. At first, this is somewhat obscure. Consulting the World Atlas provided the answer. Looking closely at a map of Peru, we found a town called Urkos in the Peruvian province of Cusco, only about 20 miles away from the city itself. The inscription's message is pointing to the city or the province of Peru, Cusco, Peru. It is also pointing to a cross that is in or near the town of Urkos. The conclusion must be that this is our place of refuge. Spurred on by this interpretation of the Latin inscription, we began to research the country and history of Peru. Fulcanelli mentions the Inca briefly in his discussion on the green language, but gives us no other obvious pointers. Paul Mevro mentions the Andes, but avoids any suggestion of South America or its cultures. Elizabeth Van Buren, of course, thinks on very slim evidence that the place of refuge is Rennes-le-Chateau, not Peru. One of the first volumes we consulted, the Chronicle of Felipe Guaman Poma de Ayala, written by one of Pizarro's conquistadors, presented us with an incredible synchronicity concerning the images on the cross at Henday. One of the first drawings in de Ayala's Chronicle of Peru is called The Symbols of the Inca, the sun, the moon, lightning, the hill at Guancaré, and the caves at Paratacambo. These four symbols are astonishingly close to the four symbols found on the pedestal at Henday. Mevro implies that the A's represent mountains with caves in them, in either South America or Andes or the Himalayas. This suggests the caves at Paratacambo of de Aya's sketch. The other three panels correspond directly to the sun, moon, and star images at Henday. The juxtaposition of similar concepts between de Aya's sketch and the cross at Henday is astonishing. All right, so there's the symbols on the cross of Henday, as we've visited many times, and there's de Aya's sketch. So we have the sun looking just like the sun with 16. We have the bright star, instead of 8, it has 16. We have the fairy tale moon, just like the cross of Henday's fairy tale moon. And instead of the 4 A's here, we have the caves at Paratacambo. We'll get into that later. A few months after deciphering the message of the inscription, we met with Dr. Juan del Prado, professor of anthropology at Cusco University in Peru. He was touring the United States with William Sullivan, who had just recently published the groundbreaking book, The Secret of the Incas. Dr. del Prado is a pleasant man who spent his life studying the Quechua Indians. From his research, he has learned many profound things about the Inca and their survivors, the Quechua, including their legends and myths about the center of the galaxy. These topics were discussed thoroughly that night over several bottles of really good wine. As the conversation began to end, we asked about the town of Urkos and the possibility of a cross of some kind being there. Dr. del Prado looked surprised. Quote, "There is a strange cross in Urkos. No one knows where it came from or who built it," he answered thoughtfully. Right then and there, we knew that a trip to Peru was the next step in our investigation. All right, so that's that chapter. So here, we'll go back to this. This astonishing coincidence of the Inca having the same symbols as the cross of Henday. So there was an article in an Oklahoma newspaper from around 1890, and the Native Americans in Oklahoma were going to unveil their secret, their biggest symbolic secret symbol. And they had been working on it for, no, it was ancient. And they had a rock that covered it. And they took the rock off of it. And there on their symbol, their most sacred symbol was fairy tale sun, a starburst, fairy tale moon, and caves. So even in America, the same symbols that are on the cross of Henday and in Peru have been found. And they're associated with this catastrophe that happens. So I went to Peru right after I finally made the translation of the inscription. And I got in, this was in 1997. I got into the cave system that runs through the Andes. And in those days, there's just nobody there. I mean, not really very many tourists were there. Machu Picchu had a lot of people, and Sacsayhuaman had a lot of people, but for the most part, Peru was not really being visited by the throngs of people that come there today. So I got into this vast cave system and explored it for hours and hours, and it's huge and it runs everywhere. And of course, I came back and I wrote the book with Vincent, and the book got published. And in 2007, I went back to Peru to make a film, and really anxious to get back there. And I was making this movie in Peru, which was a super arduous experience. And because even though I lived in Colorado, it's 14,000 feet, just about killed me. In fact, I was in bed for 2 weeks at the end of the trip, just absolutely killed by the exhaustion. But anyway, I got to go back to the openings and the caves and everything, and there were guards with armed weapons in front of every opening and would not let me through no matter what. And then when I came back in 2017, again, I go there every 10 years for some weird reason. I guess I'll be going back in 2027. They were all bolted up with grating put in front of all the entrances, so they didn't even need guards anymore. They just had it all bolted up. You couldn't get into the cave system, and so the place of refuge has been locked up. And if you think about it, if there was a super wave, a solar burst, you wouldn't want to be near sea level, so you'd want to be as high up as you could get. So the Andes are the second highest mountains on Earth, so that's a good choice. Then the other thing is you don't want to be exposed to the atmosphere because of solar radiation and the super wave blasting everything to smithereens, so you'd want to be inside in a cave. So more and more, it's pretty obvious that the cave system within the Andes or any other cave system that was high enough up would be the perfect place to escape the disaster, the coming disaster. So, and also the legends of the Inca are that they survived in the caves during a catastrophe, and that they came out of the caves after the catastrophe to reconquer the land. So anyway, that's it. I'm Jay Widener. This has been Reality Check. Thanks for listening. We're reading from the book. I'm almost done. And I hope you enjoyed it. Tell your friends. Thanks.